just been told there's no sound, and that's rather disturbing. Let's go over. Let's go over to the channel and do a sound check. Rather disturbing because everything appears to be plugged in. Let me just.
I can hear you now, Mr. Duke. I can hear you now.
So there was no sound for the music. That's. Oh, there was sound. It was just too low. Dang. Okay. The mic is directional. So it appears as if it did a very good job of cutting out the music, even though I didn't want it to cut out the music. But yeah, damn, it's a good mic. It's a directional mic. With you in a second, Leon. Let me just complete this sound check. 1 2 1 2. Check 1. Check 1. Okay, kill the music and now let's listen back. 1 2. Check 1. Check 1. Okay, kill the music and now let's listen back. Okay, it's bellissima. It's bellissima. I think everything's a-okay. Sorry about the sounding muted originally. Let me just pin that there. And let's, hold on. I think everything is in order right about now. Yes, it is. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio. That's the name of the channel, the name of the show. What will we call this one? Joshua versus Ngannou analysis. Deontay Wilder out in the cold after ducking Zilly Zang Bang, the big Chinaman. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, all is good now. All is good with the sound.
Bellissima, bellissima. Thanks for just giving me the heads up on that. I'll have to bear that in mind when I'm doing the intro music henceforth. But anyway, let's introduce and let's welcome in. As a matter of fact, rat-tat-tat-tat, let's welcome everybody who's already in here now. Get in here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you've not already done so. And don't forget, there's a share button. You can share this on all forms of social media. And with that said, let us bring in the Leon Figures. Mr. Leon Figures, how do you do today?
Peace, Mr. Dawkins. Peace, peace, peace. Yes, I'm very good. Hope you're good. Hope you're all recovered.
Yes.
And,
yes.
You're settling in well to the new job.
Well,
clocking up that pension, I see, was very attractive for you.
Very, very important. Very important because, you know, like I said before, I don't know if anybody's out there is getting younger, but I know I'm not. So, you know, at some point you have to say to yourself, hold on a second, let's get serious with this pension thing. Let's get serious. Let's get serious with this pension thing. Who offers the best pensions? Who offers the best pensions? It's your local authority. It's your government. It's the government that take care of their employees. And so, you know, Rafi was heading in that direction anyway. I mean, with a particular job anyway, but still, I mean, you go with the best employer you can get. And am I selling in? Yeah, it was very difficult at first. I think I spoke about this on yesterday's show. It's very difficult. There wasn't very much form. You know, it's not the public sector. It is the public sector, which is different to the private sector. Any job I've ever had in the private sector, you know, there's always been a kind of you hit the ground running. They load you with the training. When you're in training, they load you with stuff. They give you a laptop. They say, take it home, and, you know, do some extra stuff in your own time. We're not going to pay you for that. You know what I mean? With these cats, they're just like, calm down, man, chill. They're just like, chill. You're working for the government. So chill.
I don't want you making them look bad, Mr. Dawkins, with a private sector work ethic. You have to just take your time.
Yeah.
Don't go upsetting the apple cart there.
Totally. Well, that's totally what it is. You know what I'm saying? They just say chill, but I mean, I'm just kind of, I just go in there revved up. You know what I mean? I've worked in different areas. You know, office setting, sales setting. I've always there's a mentality. You go in there and you just want to hit the ground running as quick as possible. You just want to, you just want to shine. You want to shine. You want to be a team leader. You want to shine. You want to be, you want to show that you got gusto. You got drive. You got drive, and
I
which,
think the drive they like is the drive home after getting paid for doing half a day's work. I think.
do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So there wasn't even giving me the what you call them, the training packs. The training packs weren't ready because they log you in and they've got to you go through this portal. They've got to do their back end stuff, and it can take a week just to get properly logged in.
The wheels turn slowly. They do turn. They just turn very slowly.
That's correct. That's correct. But I don't know. I wasn't verbalizing stuff. But I think my line manager, he sensed it in me, and he'd say, "Raf, and I wasn't even verbalizing stuff. He must have just felt the energy. And I said, "Yeah, man, cool. I got it. He's got it. Cool, Raf, cool. Just that one when they're saying Formula One, you're doing a slow down lap there. Cool, Raf, cool." And but it's alien to me. That stuff is alien to me in the training phase. You really want to cram everything in. But today, it seems like I'm fully logged in now. My line manager, funny enough, a kid that I grew up with, he's big in the organization. He joined them civil service straight from school. That was his first and his only job. So now he's high up in the tree, and he works there too. So I guess there's been some discussions about me, Raf is like this, Raf is like that. So it's good. So they've got me plugged in. I've got my first training pack now. So today I turned up, went in, and boom, it was ready for me, So now there's structure. Now I can work with it. I can deal with it. There's structure now. Do you see what I'm saying? And I can get stuck into. I need something to get my teeth into. But let me bring in Big Boys Boxing because he jumped on yesterday, but I had to jump out again. I know he's got a busy home life over there. Let's bring him in. Big Boys Boxing. How do you do?
Peace, Big Boys Boxing. Glad to have you on the panel.
There's two of him. There's one in the shed, and there's another one. His doppelganger. He's over on. Which one's the real one, though? Oh, there's one now. He's got.
Your camera's on, Big Boys. Oh, I wasn't sure if you knew his camera's on.
No, his camera's off now. He's good. Can't hear him. But...
Sorry, new phone. I'm having issues.
Hello, say that again, Big Boys.
I'm having some issues with a new phone. Sorry.
Oh. No problem. Teething problems, new technology and all that stuff. Yeah, how you doing, Big Boys? How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Okay.
Loving the news that's going around. We've got some good fights happening.
We got some damn good fights happening. Okay, and in comes the man like the John D. Lee. John D. Lee, how do you do?
Peace.
Good evening, guys. All good, my end.
Excellente. So we're not going to mess around. We're going to just dive in. Okay, where are we starting? We're starting with I'll just put the question out there. So, how are we gonna deal with this thing? Okay, so let's go with the. Let's start with the obvious. There's a gentleman out there who can possibly now be described as a king without a home. He's a self-proclaimed king. I'm going to describe him to you. See if you know I'm talking about Leon Figures. He's a self-proclaimed king. You will recall him saying, "Your king is here." The self-proclaimed king who was throughout the years claimed that this one's dodging him, that one's dodging him. Well, it's really Anthony Joshua has been saying over the years, been dodging him. Scared to go up to his level, his high level, being a king. You know, the level is high. But now we got a very strange situation. Your king has ducked Zilly, Zang, Bang. That's what I'm saying. If anybody's saying different, please feel free. Your king has ducked Zilly, Zang, Bang. The big
official offer?
The big I'll get into that. The big Chinaman. His Excellency, agents of His Excellency have come out and said, well, yeah, we've got Zilly Zhang on the card and we've got Deontay Wilder on the card. And ideally, we want them to fight each other. And a very good question is, was there an official offer? Well, there must have been an official offer because Zilly Zhang Bang's side signed their portion of the contract. So it was signed by the
certified quack then, Mr. Wilkins. A certified quack.
Excuse me?
That's a certified duck then. If they wanted them both on and Zhang's on the card, so he was willing to fight, and Deontay Wilder's not on the card.
Well, I mean, I'm just laying the table. I'm just laying out everything on the table. So we know there was an offer because one side accepted, and we also know that one side declined, or let me be more specific, one side failed to sign for whatever reason. That's on them to explain. But one side signed and one side declined. Leon Figures. Let's go around the table, starting with Leon Figures.
It's disappointing. I mean, it would have been a very dangerous fight for Wilder, but at the same time, he's at the end of the career, and you've got to take these opportunities. You know, so it's do I blame him for not wanting that fight? I don't blame him for not wanting that fight, but he can no longer push this narrative of he's the most dangerous man in boxing, he's the most feared man in boxing, and nobody wants to fight him, all these people, because many people have been calling him out. You know, time just hasn't been kind. I mean, what they can't take from him, he was WBC champion, 9 or 10 title defenses, a very good knockout ratio. His opponents are questionable, but those things you can't take away from him. But at the end of his career, he's petering out very unkindly to him. You know, the loss to Joseph Parker, if that's the lasting memory that we're going to have, it's terrible.
Sad.
And I fear that if he had gone in with Zhang, he could have been another knockout defeat, and it would have been very difficult to come back. I just don't see where he goes from here. I just don't see what he does. And if he did, would I be interested in watching it? I wouldn't stay up till 4 a.m. to watch it if it's US time.
I've never stayed up at 4 a.m. to watch any. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe the first Fury, yeah, maybe the second. I can't remember. Did I watch it live? Yeah, the first and the second Furies. Hold on, where was the third Fury? Was that in America as well?
Yeah, all in America. All in America.
Oh, okay, I watched all of them then. Fair enough. I lied.
No, I stayed up for a few. I stayed up for the one over the weekend with Turbiev Smith.
No, I'm talking about Wilder fights. I thought
the Wilder fight
for any of them, but I did. I stayed up for the 3 Wilder Furies.
No, I think I only stayed up for the third one.
I stayed up for all of them. But we haven't finished with that. We're still going, but let's keep it moving. Let's bring in Big Boys Boxing. Big Boys Boxing, we have a king without a home. Where is his home? Where is his home? Where is his home? He was supposed to be elite. He was supposed to be... Carry on. Over to you. What did you say? I missed it.
Retirement is where he
dear.
belongs, I think.
Oh Lord.
But that was his pretty much last chance at getting a decent payday. In my opinion, he would have got knocked Spark out, but that's not the point, is it? It's supposed to be prize fighting. He's got this opportunity with the Saudis to make tens of millions of dollars every fight, but he thought better of it. So I'm thinking he's probably going to retire. Because who else is he going to fight? Like Andy Ruiz? I don't think Andy will even want that fight anymore because Wilder's got nothing he wants. He had that number one position before, so I think even Andy would be chasing bigger and better things. So I don't know if he's going to continue. I guess he's got to go back to the PBC and try to clean up his backyard with, Jared Anderson and Cassius Chaney. And
You think he beats Jared Anderson?
No, I don't. I think a competitive fight for him right now would be Charles Martin. So that gives you an idea of what I think.
That's actually, you're on the money there. You're actually on the money there. Because I was trying to think of somebody who would beat, and I couldn't think of one. But yeah, Charles Martin. Yeah, you're on. That's a competitive fight. That's a competitive fight. That's a nice fight. That's a back and forth. He can beat him. And Charles Martin is not really that concussive of a puncher. So yeah, that's a good call.
He'd be lucky to make $500,000 though.
Oh yeah, there's no money in it.
Is it worth his time? I don't know.
Damn. The John D. Lee. There's a king out there. There's a king, and I suggest to you, he's now become a king without a home because his own people. I was listening earlier on. His own people last night, actually. His own people are saying over there in the USA are saying that he's washed. Some of them are just saying he's washed after turning, not after losing to Joseph Parker, no. Well, a little bit after that, but really, it's now that he's turned down Zhang, now that it's clear. What is it? They're coming to terms. I've been listening. The Rafi been listening purely for journalistic reasons. And there's tears, there's weeping, wailing, gnashing of teeth, and the slow dawning of the realization that the king is no longer John D. Lee, king without a home.
Well, as you know, and for those who don't, I can substantiate this point. I think he was the most protected heavyweight champion since Floyd Patterson.
Dang.
We saw what happened to Floyd when he came up against serious tests. And I don't think he was as good as Floyd either. No. Floyd wasn't really a true heavyweight, and I don't know in that division was light heavyweight.
Yeah.
I've never been a believer in the power. If anyone wants to go back and rewatch the Stavern fight, the first one, count how many times he lands the right hand on Stavern.
To be fair, you have been consistent in that. You have been a consistent non-believer in his power.
Well, just watch the Stavern fight. He lands it every single round, and Stavern keeps walking forward. And Stavern had been knocked out prior to that as well. So we're not talking about a man with a proven iron chin. Obviously, the lack of boxing ability was there for everybody to see. It's never been a surprise. He doesn't do well with southpaws. He doesn't do well against men that are bigger than him. So there's no way that Zang was a good fight for him coming off a loss. But he's on this reality TV show, whatever it is, Traitors. Yeah, whatever it is. If he actually wanted to make a comeback and his team had any form of negotiating skill or acumen, he would have been able to get a fight on this card. Look at what they let Hrgovic get away with.
Yeah.
I mean, the inactivity has got to be one of the biggest problems. And there's no desire to be an active fighter. So whilst I would really like to see him fight Joshua, because I've always believed that Joshua outboxes and knocks him out. I don't think that's going to happen, because I'm not sure we're going to see Wilder in the ring again, because clearly he's more interested in being on a reality TV show than he is earning money in Saudi. And I
They'll give him Ngannou.
say again.
You think Ngannou loses to Joshua? Do you think they'll give him Ngannou?
I think that he, but what could Wilder do to Ngannou? Because I mean, I think Ngannou would eat all of his power shots, and once he's inside on Wilder hasn't got a good chin. I mean, you've only got to watch the Romanov fight in the amateurs and watch him get banjoed around with head guards and big gloves to know that however good or bad Ngannou is, he's got enough power to knock Wilder out. And I don't think Wilder's got enough power to keep him off him. And he definitely can't do anything on the back foot. I mean, we saw Joseph close the distance on him and bully him on the ropes. If Ngannou bullies Wilder on the ropes, I just think he's going to destroy him, to be honest. But I've always thought he's got a terrible chin and the power is supremely overrated, because all he's ever done is knock out people of the caliber that Joshua had in his first 10 to 12 fights. And Joshua didn't go past 3 rounds in those fights. So this idea that he's an amazing knockout puncher, if you actually look at his top 10 rated opponents, the only one he's knocked out is Luis Ortiz. And I mean, Drew Haupas was stopped on his feet. If the power is as lacking as I think it is, I mean, the weight differential, how would Wilder withstand a 270-pound Ngannou? You know, Ngannou weighs the same as Tyson Fury, but look at the difference in body composition. I think even the Charles Martin fight, Charles Martin gave Big Baby Anderson hell. Anderson only narrowly beat Martin.
Yeah.
There's even allegations that Martin carried him and it was a dodgy result. I'm not going to go that far.
Martin went life and death with Jared Anderson went life and death with Martin. Life and death. He was all over the place. He was at 6s and 7s at times. 6s and 7s. But let me tell you this.
And Wilder doesn't do well against southpaws, Rafi. Was my last point, which is part of the reason why I don't think he should have ever taken the Zang fight. But my real issue is the fact he's not fighting. Well,
okay, that's good. That's good points. Let me tell you this. There was talk that when he came back, after he lost to Parker, there was talk after he lost his Parker about the inactivity. And I says, yeah, the inactivity. All of a sudden, inactivity became a thing when it was never a thing before for them people on that side of the street. For them people on that side of the street, inactivity was not a real thing. It was not a real thing. We're so good quality. We're so high quality that we can take a year out. We can take 18 months out and we can come back and fight because that's who we are. That's who we are. But then Errol Spence got banjoed. Deontay Wilder got banjoed multiple times. Errol Spence got banjoed. The Charlos got banjoed in and out of the ring. And it became very, very clear that this one time a year, one time every 18 months, one time every 2 years, became very, very clear that was a problem. Even to the point where the blind men, the blind mice, the blind men on the other side of the street, even they had to come out and acknowledge and admit, yeah, this inactivity shizzle ain't working. It's not a good look. It's not a good look, and it's not working. So now the hats were pinned, and the hopes were pinned on Deontay Wilder coming out this March and getting rid of the inactivity. Do it like Joshua. Look how many times Joshua fought. Look how many times Joseph Parker fought. That's the way you're supposed to do it. All of a sudden, you're supposed to be active. It's a new thing. You're supposed to be active. Okay, so we're going to get Deontay Wilder out in March, and he's going to be active like your AJs, like your Parkers. He's going to be active like them. And what happens? What happens? He turns down the opportunity. They gave him a golden opportunity to get back on the top rung. If he wins, if he fought Zang and he beat Zang, then he would be considered back on the top rung, and fairly so, I believe. You know, Zang's a top ranking guy. Fair enough. So he's back in with the Joshua fight. That's what the Saudis wanted. That's what we all wanted to see. We all wanted to see the end of the argument. We want to see the argument come to an end. See who's the winner, who's the loser. But the way he performed against Joseph Parker, it meant that he was like, what's the point? What's the point? The man's turned into Malik Scott. He's now gun shy. The guy is running away. The bronze bomber. One punch, quitter. Wilder is running away from Joseph Parker. And then we said, okay, it's over. There's no point. It's over. It's done. Finito. He's done. But they said he's going to come back in March, so maybe it's not done. Send him the contract. Doesn't sign. We still haven't had an explanation. Big Boys Boxing, please. Why? And what's his road back? Well, we already said there is road back. But is there any possible explanation that they could come up with that would make you say, okay, that makes sense. He's still on track. He still wants it. Or is it just as it appears to be? Just a humongous bronze duck.
It's a humongous bronze duck. I mean, we had the day before the Parker v. Zang fight was announced, Shelley Finkel publicly came out and said they would like that fight and blah, blah, blah. It's a good fight. When I heard Shelley say that, I'm thinking instantly, okay, he's trying to get a cash out, put some money in his pocket because Wilder's done. But then Wilder turns it down. It really does suggest to me he's retiring, because I can't see the point in him going and fighting a Charles Martin or a Luis Ortiz again, or anybody that's of outside the top 10. He gave up a golden opportunity, because who comes off a fight getting beaten every round and then gets offered a interim world title fight straight away?
Yeah,
I mean, that was ludicrous in the first place, but the fact that he's turned it down really does tell me he's done.
It's over. It's over. It's over, Leon Figures. It's over.
Yes, and the sad fact is, he was actually with. He got his foot in the door in Saudi, where they would actually give him activity.
Yeah,
they would have given him exactly what he needs. The only difference is they're giving him tough fights. Very tough fights they're offering him.
Hold on a sec. Let me interrupt you there. And we speak on this point. You go, then John goes, then John. Yeah. So the tough fights. One of Deontay Wilder's things. One of his things was that was talking about tough fights. He takes the tough fights. Now we all know that was a load of cockamamie nonsense. We all know that, but that was one of his things. You know, I have the tough fights, and now he's got a tough fight in a Joseph Parker. He loses, then he gets another tough fight in Zhilei Zhang Bang, and he doesn't take it. And I think now, Leon, it's just beyond a doubt. It's unquestionable that the man was what we used to call a shaper. He's a shaper.
No one said that when he fought Fury and Ortiz. And at the time, I think Joshua had fought maybe Parker and Povetkin. So Fury had fought Wilder and Schwartz. So he did kind of have, at that moment in time, he did kind of have the more dangerous fights. But that was the one time he spoke about it, and he couldn't do it for very long, because he kept saying, I'm fighting killers. But that was the only time he could really say it. Everyone, you know, even the hardest Deontay Wilder fan have to admit that he was, the WBC had given him an easy ride. He didn't have to face many mandatories. He picked his he had many voluntaries. And the only time he made a challenge was a very calculated Tyson Fury, which ended up to be a very huge cherry pick gone wrong.
John Daly.
Well, I'm going to disagree with what Leon said there anyway.
I knew you would, but that's fine. Carry on.
Any deep dive into Luis Ortiz's resume will show that Luis Ortiz has actually got a worse resume than Wilder. And I'm pretty certain, Leon, you saw Ortiz when he was on Matchroom fight Dave Allen, a guy that Pricey just took to school and beat up. Did you see Ortiz fight the 44-year-old Tony Thompson?
Oh, I saw that.
Because I mean, all this talk about Ortiz.
The else Tony Thompson.
Tony, the guy that knocked out Pricey twice, and then pops for, is it Tony Thompson? Sure. What's his surname?
No, that's Steve Cunningham.
No. The guy that knocked out David Price twice.
You mean Black Tony Thompson with a curly perm?
Yeah,
that's
curly perm. Oh yeah,
yep.
And he knocked out David Hay as well.
Yeah. Well,
Tony Thompson knocked out David Price.
Whichever what? No, who knocked out David Price? No, Price's first knockout loss. Let me get.
Okay.
I think it was Tony Thompson. Yeah, you're right.
Right. So Luis Ortiz went 12 rounds with him before he fought Dave Allen.
Jeez.
And he went 12 rounds with Malik. Did he go 12 rounds with Malik Scott? I'm pretty certain he went 12 rounds with Malik Scott. He couldn't finish Dave Allen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason that he left Matchroom to fight Wilder was because Povetkin was next in the order for the mandatory for Joshua, and then it was going to be Luis Ortiz. And he specifically went to Wilder because he didn't want to wait his turn. And then they spun this narrative as soon as he went to the PBC that Eddie Hearn was protecting Joshua by putting other people in front of him.
Yeah, I remember that narrative.
If you compare Povetkin versus Ortiz's resume, Povetkin is an infinitely better fighter.
I would say so.
I mean, he's a gold medalist.
He's got a pedigree, Olympic pedigree as well. Yeah,
Olympic pedigree.
Yeah.
The only person who really beat him before Joshua did was Klitschko. He knocked out Vlad. I mean, not Vlad. He knocked out Dillian
Klitschko
White.
failed him all night long, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that was a horrible fight.
That was a horrible fight. Anybody who hasn't seen a demonstration of repeated and incessant fouls, go and watch that fight.
It's what Rafi likes called dirty boxing.
Yeah,
anyway.
Very, very dirty.
Well, I mean, if you think about what Povetkin was able to do to Dillian White,
yeah.
What have we seen Ortiz actually do that makes him a killer? You go through his resume, I think he's got fat super middleweights on there. It's a cluster of cruiserweight nobodies.
Is it fair to call Luis Ortiz a career journeyman?
Yeah. I mean, this guy couldn't even make the Olympics.
He's a career journeyman. He's a good, decent level boxer who can box anywhere in the world and survive to an extent. So he's got the fundamentals, but let's have it right. Luis Ortiz has been a career journeyman.
He wasn't.
I defy anybody to disagree with that.
He wasn't even on the Cuban Olympic boxing team, and when he did fight for Cuba, and his amateur career, he was actually an amateur heavyweight, which is equivalent to a boxing cruiserweight, a professional cruiserweight.
Right.
So this idea that he's some monster is ludicrous. That's the first thing. When Wilder took on Tyson Fury, let's have it right. The man had been 300 pounds plus, closer to 400 He'd been sniffing coke, not fighting for 2 years. Fought the Silver Surfer, and who's the other one?
Superior and Pianetta.
Exactly. And it was those 2 fights that made Wilder think, oh yeah, I'll take this up.
Wow.
So if we
What a disgraceful character. What a disgraceful character. Because that is the reason. Because he fought the Silver Surfer and Pianetta, and Wilder swooped on him. He swooped on him like a bloody jackal. Not a jackal, albatross. He swooped on him like an albatross based on those 2 fights. That's disgraceful.
And we want to say Anthony Joshua was fighting weaker opposition by fighting Joseph Parker and Luis Ortiz. And Povetkin. I'm sorry, I just cannot allow that comment to stand whatsoever. What was the actual original question, Raf? Because I'm a bit sidetracked with the statement I was struggling to accept.
Well, the audacity. When I think about it, the audacity of those.
Oh, he actually said
overseas. The audacity of those overseas cats is quite astonishing when you look at when you just go through the names. The audacity of them. It's quite astonishing.
Let's take it back. He said that Joseph Parker ducked him to fight Anthony Joshua. And the only thing that I would say is Joseph Parker made a massive mistake in going for the Joshua money first.
Yeah, should have.
If he did, everyone's got hindsight in 2020.
Yeah.
2020 vision in hindsight.
Yeah.
But if he'd have taken that £1 million to unify with Wilder,
yeah,
I think Parker might have knocked him out.
I said that about a month ago. I said that
and then Joe would have been on for the undisputed fight, and Joe would have made the fight.
Yeah,
Joe would 100% have made the fight.
Yeah.
So
on hindsight, he should have fought Wilder for the million.
The point is, Parker actually, in the build-up to this fight, he called himself Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
But what we didn't know was it's because his performance is going to be that bad. He puts us.
Yeah.
And he said that Joseph Parker ducked him. It's like, well, what are you on about? He fought Joshua for more belts.
For more belts, and then years later, after he gets beat by Joshua, he comes back and beats Wilder.
Yeah, and Joshua still gets no credit for beating Parker.
Oh no, they're not even talking about it. They're not even talking about it overseas.
No, but generally speaking, in the UK, anywhere, the 2 wins that Joshua never gets any credit for is Charles Martin, who just made Jared Anderson go life and death, even now, and Joe Parker. He never gets any credit for those wins.
Well, he gets credit. He gets credit from me, and he gets credit from certain people over here, but he gets no credit. Over on the
doesn't get much credit from the UK public either, really.
Well, I don't know. I think people saw him, whether they want to give him credit or not. At least they know about it. Whereas overseas, on the blind side of the street, I think some people genuinely don't even know about it, and the ones who do, the ones who do, they don't want to talk about it. But we got other things to talk about.
Anyway, that's me done on that.
Yeah, we got other things to talk about. Maybe that can tickle that later, but we're on a time crunch, so let's get into it. So somebody who did take the fight versus Zilly Zang goes by the name of Joseph Parker, and Big Boys Boxing is here. He's a New Zealander, so let him talk. Let go. Go on, Big Boys. Go on. Go have at it.
I'm not that happy about it, to be honest. It's a great fight, but as a New Zealander, I think Joe's going to lose. But I'm not saying it's going to be a whitewash or anything like that. I think there's definitely some things Joe can do that can give Zhilei Zhang some problems with hand speed and foot speed and elusiveness for sure. But do any of you remember seeing Joseph Parker fight a southpaw as a pro? I've only seen one.
No,
and he looked like crap.
No, I don't remember. Who
he
was
fought
that?
a guy called Jason Bergman, his name was, and he fought him in Samoa in 35 degrees Celsius heat. It went 8 rounds, but Joe got clipped really bad early in the fight. He was he was on the front foot and he got backed Bergman into the corner, and he just stood there waiting for Bergman to do something. So Bergman waved him in like Chisora used to do, you know. And he came in with a big right hand. He missed, and Jason Bergman nearly knocked him clean out with one punch. And this Jason Bergman guy is a truck driver, for God's sake. But that was a long time ago. That was before he was WBO champion, of course.
Yeah.
And I can't recall him. I don't think there was any southpaws before that, and that must have been in about his 14th fight or something like that. I know he's fought a couple of southpaws in the amateurs, but that's many years ago, and things have changed. However, I do know Moses Atalma has been in camp with Tyson Fury, and he's a southpaw, and Joseph will be using him as well for sparring up until Moses fights on February 17th. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence that Joe can pull it off, but I'm hoping I'll be pleasantly surprised. To be fair, I really like Zhili Zhang as well, so just may the best man win. I just think it's a good fight and it makes sense.
What do I think about it? Yeah, I mean, my first question was, when was the last time that Joseph Parker fought a southpaw? And you just explained that. I don't think that's good. I think I think every fourth fight or so, you should be fighting a southpaw. Every fourth fight or so, as a professional, you should be fighting a southpaw, because there's gonna come a time. There's gonna come a time where it's going to be an important fight, and it's going to be against a southpaw. And so I think that you should actively seek out southpaws. Every fourth fight or so, a professional, in my opinion, a professional should be fighting a southpaw, professional boxer. The lack of fighting southpaws that can harm you, I don't think we've seen it harm anybody as much as it harmed Joe Joyce, Big Joe Joyce, against, funnily enough, Big Bang, Zhili Zhang, the Chinaman. So that's a bit daunting. Big Bang seems to have come into his own, especially after the Hrgovic fight. I don't know. There's just something that he was just banging so hard that he made Hrgovic just change his whole game plan. Made Hrgovic get on his skates, box from the outside. And that was telling. Because I thought before the fight, I thought Hrgovic would have took care of Zhang handily. I still remember the Jerry Forrest fight when he crumbled. We saw him crumble, but later on it transpires there seems to have been some medical issue with Big Bang Zhili Zhang, and which appears to have been corrected. Changed his strength and conditioning coach. He seems reborn. The man seems rejuvenated. Can Parker stay away from the backhand of Zhili Zhang? Maybe he can. I think maybe he can. Maybe he's elusive. He's elusive. He's with Andy Lee. So they're working on the principles. They know the science. They know the science of this thing. So I'm not so much of the doom and gloom brigade on this one. I think Parker will be elusive. He will be well schooled. And I think Parker could win on points. I don't think Parker's going to get knocked out. I really don't. I think it's going to be a points thing, and I think Parker's good for points. So who do I favor? Well, you have to take the alternative view as well. Zhili Zhang hasn't got the best gas tank, even the rejuvenated version. He hasn't got the best gas tank, so I think that it's a closer fight than many. I go 60-40 in favor of Big Bang Zhili Zhang. Leon figures.
We mustn't forget that Zhili Zhang has a very good right hook as well that Joe Joyce found out about in the second fight.
Yes.
Yes, I think that Joe Joyce's story, Joe Parker, is a lot better because of what he did to Deontay Wilder that John Dealey does a very good job of desecrating his whole career. So when you take that into account, you've got to make Zhili Zhang the favourite. Just got to make him the favourite. I'd say more 70-30.
70-30 in favour of Zhili Zhang, you're saying?
Favourite Zhili Zhang. And we know triangle theories don't work in boxing, but when you look at what Joe Joyce done to Parker compared to what Zhang done to Joe Joyce, it's that does become a factor when it's such a heavy defeat both ways. You know, it ends of the scales. It has to be taken into consideration. So I've got Zhang 70% chance of beating Joe Parker, but a fun fight while it lasts.
How's he gonna do it?
Knockout. Fun fight while it lasts, but knockout.
OMG. And let me just circle back to big boys. How does Zhang beat Parker?
I think it'll be a points win, but there is the possibility that Zhang could do some real damage in the first 3 rounds. I think if Joe can survive past 6 or 7, I think Joe's actually got a good chance of possibly stopping Zhang late because of that stamina, like you were talking about. He's a big dude. He's nearly 41 years old. I mean, Father Time is undefeated, isn't he? So these guys sooner or later are going to fall off that age cliff. But you know, I'd also like to mention too, a couple of people I've heard say, is it possible that Joe Joyce actually took more damage in that Joe Parker fight than people estimate? You know, because he didn't seem to have as good a chin as soon as he got in the ring with Zhang. So maybe there's something taken out of there, but
possible.
I don't know.
Possible. John D. Lee.
Well, first of all, Joe Joyce's chin's massively overrated. He got knocked out in the amateurs with big gloves.
He got knocked out in the amateurs, you say?
Yeah, with big gloves. So this
Got
idea
stopped by Sergey Kuzmin in 1 round.
Yeah, this idea that Joe Joyce has an indestructible chin is just nonsense. It's just not the case. And I think this is a case of styles make fights. Zhang is dangerous for 6 rounds, no question. Hrgovic found this out, and Joe Joyce obviously didn't watch the tape or can't do anything about it. Because he made himself available, he just marched into the pocket and stuck his chin out in the air. And there's no question Zhang hits you hard. And he's an accomplished, skillful fighter in the pocket, and he's a very big man. But also, if you watch the Hrgovic fight, he hasn't got feet. He's got slow feet. Hrgovic, once he found out he couldn't live with Zhang's power, he just jabbed him and moved and stayed away from him. And Zhang couldn't really do anything. And his gas tank goes after about 6 or 7 rounds. So I think there's a couple of other factors with Joe Joyce's victory over Joseph Parker. This isn't to take away from Joe Joyce, but Parker was badly out of shape in that fight. He came in career heaviest, didn't he? What was he, like 260?
Yeah, it was career heavy.
Yeah, 253 or something. Apparently he was ill and couldn't train properly, from what I heard.
Well, whatever it was, it doesn't bode well for him being elusive, does it? And we've seen Joe be very elusive when he beat Andy Ruiz. Get on the back foot. He's got a good in and out game. He's got very fast hands. And I think the thing that's going to beat Zhang is a gas tank and speed. And based on
so I've got to go now. It's been great. Sorry, guys.
Leon Figures, appreciated.
Good talking to you, Leon.
Peace, bro.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you, Leon. Carry on, John.
I think the way to beat Zhang is speed, endurance, They're the two ways to beat him. Now, I saw plenty of that from Joe in the fight against Wilder. Although I've seen Joe gas in other fights, and I think Joe's all about his condition and activity, but he's been active. So he hasn't had time to get fat, has he? He's got to be in camp already.
Yeah.
Take this seriously. I think the southpaw thing is like a lot of people make a huge deal out of southpaws. In the heavyweight landscape, I'm not sure you can fight a southpaw every 4 fights, bro. I'm not sure there's enough to go around, really.
There might not be enough to go around, but you get it in when you can.
Yeah, it's a good idea to get them in when you can.
Definitely. Because there's always a southpaw at the top somewhere.
Well, look. For me, the way that you beat Zhang is jab him for the first 6 rounds, stay away from him. And then when he gasses and he's chased you around, that's when you want to try and put a bit more of a dent into him. I think Joe can do that. I think if Zhang catches him in the first 6 rounds, he could knock him out. I would never rule that out. But I'm 60-40, maybe even 70-30 in favour of Joe. And it's styles make fights. Like, Joe Joyce just walked up to him with his hands down and tried to trade with him. And if you do that in the first 6 rounds, it's probably not a good plan. So I don't think Joe Parker's going to do that, is he?
No.
And actually, he tried to do that with Joe Joyce, but it might have been just because he was so overweight, he couldn't be elusive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or he was fat on purpose, thinking that he'd try and outman Joe Joyce, which is not a good plan. You know, Joe Joyce is a huge unit.
Yeah.
You don't want to try and fight him in the pocket either, unless you've got outrageous power and hand speed, which Joe's got the hand speed, but he hasn't really got the power. But if he's got a smart game plan, I think he's got the attributes to actually beat Joe. Possibly stop him late like big boys, but it would be a bit of an exhaustion stoppage. You'd have to catch him, you know, you'd have to really wear him down and then take him down.
Well, I think that out of the cardio, in the cardio battle, Joseph Parker wins the cardio battle. So, like I said, in the second half of the fight, I can see Joseph Parker winning the second half of the fight. I see Joe being very elusive, and he's been working on that elusive style, particularly in his last fight. So take out the southpaw aspect for a moment. Joseph Parker has been working on his elusiveness very recently. So this will just be a continuation of that. Looking out for different things, admittedly. Will just be a continuation of the elusive style modified for the southpaw. And so I think he's had very good preparation for this Zhilei Zhang fight. And like I say, even though I still have Zhilei Zhang the favorite, 60-40, I do believe that if Joseph Parker makes it through the first 6 rounds, which I suspect he will, I believe the second half of the fight is his to win. And so, yeah, Joseph Parker, put your money on Joseph Parker, people. Second half of the fight win. Could even get Zhilei Zhang out of there via exhaustion. Yeah, so there you have it, folks. Some different takes on that one. We got to go back to Big Boys Boxing because I think we've emboldened him. I think we've given him more faith. I think we've pumped him up a little bit.
It's funny, you're reading my mind, Rafi. I was going to say I quite agree with a lot of what John was saying.
Yeah.
But just over the years of watching Joseph Parker, I don't have the faith that he can put it all together like he needs to. Even in the Deontay Wilder fight, yeah, he fought smart, but it was also a low volume fight. So I don't really have faith in Joe Parker's stamina at the back end of a fight as well. But if he comes in under 245 pounds, I'd like to see him at about 240. He's a lot quicker with his feet. He's a lot more elusive. In that case, then maybe I might go a 50-50 or possibly even 60-40 in Joe's favor. But right now, I'm 60-40 at Zang.
I understand why. But Joe, the thing for me is the activity with Joe. Because I think
steel sharpens steel.
It's not just that. I think he gets fat in between fights. And he hasn't had time to get fat this year. Because Joe should really be fighting in the 230s, really. He's not a big heavyweight.
No, I think he came in at like 235 against Joshua, and you see how much quicker his feet were there.
Well, what was he against Andrew Ruiz?
I think he was about 240 flat for that, so he wasn't real heavy, but he was under that 245 where I've seen every time he's 245 or over, his feet get quite sluggish.
Yeah, I agree with that. So the main reason that I'm leaning towards Joe having the speed to deal with him is the activity which should keep his weight down, because I think he likes to enjoy life too much in between fights.
Likes pies.
Yeah, and beers. And I think that's his problem. But when he's active like this, he's in camp all the time, isn't he? So
indeed,
that's my reasoning. I mean, if it comes in over 250, then you've got to favour Zhang, because he won't have the foot speed to be elusive.
What was he against? What was he against Wilder?
I'm not really sure.
245.
245.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything that or under, I think he's got enough foot speed to deal with Zhang, because Zhang's feet are slow. It's just Joe Joyce walked straight into the pocket and stood there with his hands down, catching shots with his face.
Yeah.
You do that. What do you expect to happen? You can't. It's like Hergovich tried to fight him in the pocket, got dropped, and was like, "I'm on my bike now, using my jab." So the secret's out. It's like, that's how you beat Zhang. You got to drown him in the later rounds, stay away from him with a jab. And Joe Parker has got the skill and the foot speed to do that if he's in shape. And this would be like, his fourth fight in 12 months, like Joshua as well.
Yeah.
Something like that. So he just doesn't have time to get fat. That's my
So it looks like I said Zhang. But it's real close. It's real close.
I mean, I think on paper you got to have it as a 50-50 fight, haven't you?
It's close to 50-50. It's real close to 50-50.
Like, Zhang's had some good performances. He's got some really good attributes. And they've both got limitations.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe's going to have a massive reach disadvantage. I don't know what Zhang's reach is, but Joe's only like a 76-inch reach.
Right.
He's actually 78, and so is Zhang, believe it or not.
Is it? I'm sure he's 76.
It says 76 on BoxRec, but he's been measured. I think it was the Joshua fight. They actually did the measurements, and they put the tail of the tape up.
Yeah, BoxRec's not. BoxRec's not.
That's interesting. They got identical. That's interesting.
Well, yeah, Zhili Zhang's only got a 78-inch reach on BoxRec, but I don't know if that's measured as well, you know?
Yeah, but that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, to be honest, Zhang's not a long fighter, is he? He's a bit of a hooker in the pocket.
Yeah.
So he gives, if he has got a reach advantage, he tends to give it up from his style anyway.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
That, again, for me, means that Joe should be able to execute a game plan where you stay away from him with a jab for 6 rounds and see what he's got left.
Well, okay. So we're going to go around the table one last time and do the percentages. I started off at 60-40 in favor of Zhang. That's come down to 55-45, still in favor of Zhang, but the odds have shortened. I've shortened the odds, thinking about it more. I see Zhang winning the first half of the fight and Parker winning the second. It's real close to 50-50 for me. Real close to 50-50. I don't think Parker's just going to be standing in front of Zhang. And I can see Parker winning this one. Should I just say 50-50, which is what I'm thinking? No, I'm going to say 55-45 in favor of Zang, but put your money on Parker because I think he'll be the underdog. So that's where he can make some money. I'm going to put a $5 on Parker, or I'm choosing Zilly Zhang. Make of that which you will. John D. Lee, your final percentage split of this show on this particular fight.
60-40 Parker. But it's a great fight, and if anybody is picking Zhang, I can't blame him. It's a brilliant fight.
Big Boys Boxing. Your final percentage split. Big Boys Boxing. Oh, he might be away from the mic. Well, in comes the man like Tony Reviews. Oh, hold on. Big Boys is back. Big Boys, your final percentage.
I had myself muted. I'm going to stick with the 60-40 in favor of Zhang, but it's definitely going to take some more pondering, and John's words have made me think a little bit.
We pumped him up, John. We pumped him up. You do the pumping, I'll take his money.
Well, it's just styles mate fights. I mean,
that can't be more poignant with these three guys, because they're so different.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it would not surprise me.
Hold on, where's Tony Reviews gone? Tony, where are you?
He's dropped off.
Where are you, Tony?
If anybody has Zhang favorite, that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
I just think that actually, from watching the Hrgovic fight, there's a clear route to beating Zhang, and Joe Joyce was tailor-made for Zhang to win. But it's a good win, and that doesn't mean to say that anybody else is going to do that to Joe Joyce. Indeed. And as we move, come back, Tony. Where are you? Tony? Come on back. But as we move, of course, we're gonna have to make our picks. A little bit of an analysis on Joshua versus Ngannou. And okay, I guess I'll lead off. Joshua versus Ngannou. Tony, come on in. Tony, talk to me. Who wins? Well, no. Let's not talk about that. What's happening with Deontay Wilder, Tony? The king is in the cold. Your king is in the cold. Turn down Zilly Zhang Bang. Turn him down. Said, I don't want that. Talk to me. Talk to me, Tony. What's with the silent treatment? Tony's having some.
Come on now. No Tony Baloney. Let's go.
No baloney, Tony. Come on. You got the people in suspense. Okay. Tony's having some technical difficulties, but let's press on. Tony will come in when he's ready. Okay, so let's press on. So, how do I see this thing going? You will know, I left boxing. Missed the whole of the Klitschko era. I think I missed the whole of that. And I was over in the MMA world, training in MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Vale Tudo. That was my whole thing. I was immersed in that world. Not just watching it, but training it religiously, regularly. And yeah, that's the UFC. And we recently, over the last 5-6 years, emerged a man from the Cameroon, and he was a beast of a man. Had a tough existence, left the Cameroon, went over to France as a legal alien, spent time in their internment camps over there, was homeless, and made his way from Paris over to America as a MMA fighter. And he was just knocking people out left, right, and center, knocking them senseless. And it seemed like an ungainly style, but as time went by, it proved highly effective. And as ungainly as it may have appeared, he was obviously very accurate, and he was working to a system, and he was very technical. He got beat by Stipe Miocic, an American Croatian cat fireman, and he got beat on the ground, so he had to up his wrestling, and that's what he did. He focused on his wrestling, and in the rematch, he starched Miocic, Miocic. So it upped his ground game and his stand-up game. It was unparalleled in the heavyweight UFC scene. And when he came over to fight Tyson Fury, we didn't really expect much of him. I gave him 3. I thought he'd have 3 good rounds of 3 rounds of just some wild swinging, some wild big swinging, a big swinger, big spender, big swinger, just swinging and swinging and swinging for about 3 rounds. And then Tyson Fury would systematically take him apart. That's what I thought would happen. But that's not what happened. What happened is that we saw a Francis Ngannou who was very technical. And on my scorecard, it was a draw. Look back at it again, I could see an argument for either guy winning by a point, by Tyson Fury winning by a point, or Francis Ngannou winning by a point. I could see that easily. And so now we go into Francis Ngannou's second fight. He's now ranked, I think, 10 in the WBC rankings, and we see Francis Ngannou come back to fight Anthony Joshua. And I think it's going to be a better Francis Ngannou. But do I think he beats Joshua? I think he has the power to knock out any man. But at the end of the day, this is boxing. And I think that the decisive factor will be the fact that Anthony Joshua is simply a higher level boxer, better technical boxer than Francis Ngannou. And I think that he can stay away from Francis Ngannou's power. I think he can disrupt Francis Ngannou's right with his left, with his jab. I think he's got the hooks. I think Francis Ngannou is known as a hooker, as a big hooker. But I think Anthony Joshua can be tighter on the inside. Don't get me wrong. I still think that Francis Ngannou is dangerous with anybody who gets in there with him or anybody he gets in there with. But I just think that Anthony Joshua was technically going to be too much for Francis Ngannou, and that's why I have it as a 60-40 split in favor of Anthony Joshua by late stoppage, TKO. Big Boys Boxing. You're muted.
There I am.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting fight. I think Francis is going to start the fight southpaw, to be honest. So, yeah, just the thought that he had difficulty with Usyk, but the fact that Francis definitely hits harder than Usyk or Wallen could create some problems if he can land on Joshua. I definitely think there could be problems. We're not talking about Tyson Fury with somewhat pillow fists, are we? So it's a big difference. There is also the fact that's come out now that Francis has been sparring actual boxers for years while he's been training for MMA. So, you know, he's been in there with fellow Cameroonian Carlos Takam lots of times. So
Right.
this is where all his technical skills come from. He does know what he's doing to a degree. So I think it's somewhat interesting. I am picking Joshua for maybe a ninth round stoppage,
Right.
somewhere there. Just due to the fact that I don't think Francis puts out enough punches. He takes
Output.
his time looking for the opportunities, and in those periods where he's not very active, Joshua's going to be piling up points and taking something out of him, which I don't think Tyson Fury could have done. Couldn't have worn him down, because he just doesn't have the power.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's an interesting fight. I'm not gonna deny from a fan's point of view, it's really a money grab.
Yeah.
It's not a meaningful fight, but Joshua not being a champion has every right to do that. So he gets a pass from me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the card.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. But let's bring in Tony Reviews. Come on in, Tony. Where's Tony? Where's Tony? Where's Tony?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Am I lagging? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. How you doing, Tony?
Okay. Good. How about yourself?
I'm fine, man. I'm fine. I'm fine. Happy New Year, Tony. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Before we begin, go ahead, take your roses. I'll eat my crow. Let's get it out. Wilder got his ass whooped. AJ, etc. I know you want to get that out. I'm a man. I come in. I take it on the chin. So go ahead, get that out. Then we'll talk about whatever.
Well, talk to me. Talk to me about your king. Your king is here.
Nah, he's never been my king, but he looked awful. He looked awful. That was the worst I ever seen Wilder look.
Explain. Talk to me. What happened? What happened? Talk to me, man. Explain, because we're confused over here.
Well, I mean, I did a breakdown before the fight, and I thought it would be difficult for Wilder to knock Parker out because he has a very good beard. We saw Joe Joyce beat him from one end of the ring to the other, and he didn't get knocked out. Well, I mean, he got stopped eventually, but he got battered nonstop. So I didn't think Wilder would be able to stop him, but I thought he'd be able to at least knock him down. But Wilder showed that under Malik Scott, he has worked on nothing. He's improved on nothing. And if you can push him backwards and get in close range, he's pretty much useless. He can't fight on the back foot. He can't fight in the pocket. If he can't line you up and hit you with the laser, he's done. So, and what you saw you saw an ex-world champion get in there with Wilder. And, we've seen now him fight two ex-world champions. I would say get exposed against both of them. And he only beat one in Stavern, which is probably the weakest heavyweight champion of all time. I would say Stavern is worse than Charles Martin, in all honesty. So, again, it's just the technical aspect of his game that I thought he was working on, it just never showed up.
Never showed up. Well, what about the 1-2? The thing you've always been able to rely on with Deontay Wilder is his 1-2. When all else failed, he had a 1-2. What happened to that?
Yeah, but the problem is this is where it comes in. The technical ability never showed up because he tried the 1-2, but Parker was very good at using lateral movement and catching him over the top with the overhand right. And Wilder had it wasn't just Wilder had no answer for it. His fucking corner was trash. They didn't even give him any direction. They like literally every time they went to the corner, they was giving him zero feedback. So bad that he actually thought he won the fight and he lost all the rounds. Like he didn't win one round and he thought he won the fight because the feedback in the corner was that atrocious. So, I mean, I don't know where he goes. The power that he looked to have, I believe he has power, but now you've seen him in there with Fury. Now you've seen him in there with Parker. Those are tested chins, and his power just doesn't look the same against the elites. It looks very good against B level and below, but if you put him in there with these ex-world champions, it doesn't look like it doesn't look like it does against a Hellenius. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you can only go by the eye test until they get in there with the top competitors. and then you can really gauge. And off of what I have seen, his power seems to be highly overrated at the top level.
You weren't saying that before, though, Tony. In all fairness.
No, but what I'm saying is you never know. Like, you can only judge it off of what you have seen. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
saw him floor Tyson Fury 4 times, and every time he floored Fury, he was losing. He was getting outboxed, but he just slightly caught him and put him down. So you have to look at it and be like, okay, he does hit hard because he dropped Fury 4 times out of 3 fights. Then when he one-shot at Hellenius, I mean, just caught him off a check hook, a pullback check hook. And then all the other knockouts he's had, you got to go by that. But then when you saw him get in there with a guy with a real chin and Joseph Parker, he didn't even make him blink. He didn't even knock his head back. So, I mean, I saw AJ fight Parker. AJ didn't stop him, but I saw AJ hurt Parker more than one time in a fight. And I watched Wilder land the right hand at least twice, very cleanly, and it had no effect. So it is what it is. You can only rely on your power for so long before you need technique, and he just showed that he's technically flawed at the top.
So I'm not gonna rub it in. But you will admit that this is shizzle that you've been hearing from us at the RDCR for years. For years. I've been slandered. I've been maligned just because I was talking the truth.
Well, I will say this.
I was talking the truth. I was talking the truth. Will you now concede?
Will say this.
Will you now concede that Rafi was right all these 5 years?
I will say this.
The last 5 years, the Rafi is being wrong.
Hold on.
Rafi is being maligned. Rafi is being spoken of.
There is no doubt. There is no doubt. There is no doubt in my mind that the Wilder that showed up against Parker would not compete with AJ. He would have got hurt very badly. And I'm talking about any version of AJ, even AJ at his worst, that we have seen since the Ruiz loss. The Jermaine Franklin version of AJ didn't look that well to me. Even the Hellenius version didn't look that good because he took a lot of shots before he got the job finished against a guy that Wilder stopped in the first round. But I would say the way Wilder looked against Parker was the worst I've ever seen him. And that version of Wilder could never beat AJ at any point in time. Now, I don't know if you go way back, maybe I don't know. I don't know. I just know he looked horrible against a guy that was a world champion, which AJ already had beat. And yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know where I place Wilder. He's somewhere in between a B+ and an A-. He's somewhere there. I don't think he's a shit fighter. I think
you can't give him an A-grade rating. Surely you can't give him an A-grade rating. Even an A-.
No, I said no. Listen to me. Listen to me. No, what I'm saying is I don't know where he stacks up. He's somewhere in between a B+ and an A-. That's not an A. That's not a B.
I'm saying he can't be an A. If you look at it logically, you cannot give him an A-grade rating. No form of
but
A.
I can't give him a B either, though. That's the problem. The problem is I can't give him an A and I can't give him a B. I don't know where the fuck he exists. I just know at the top, he does it. That's what I do know. The reason why I say I can't give him a B is because whenever you put B+ fighters in there with him or B fighters, he sparks them. They're gone. They're sleeping.
A B-. So he might be a B+.
I would say Luis Ortiz was probably a B+ fighter, and he stopped him twice. So
he might be a B++. He might be a B++.
But that's what I'm saying. You got to create this own mystical ghost category for him because I don't even know where he fits. I know I think he's better than a B+, but I think he's worse than an A-. So I don't know where you put him. I don't know. I just know at the top he doesn't belong. He doesn't belong, judging off of what I've seen.
Can I ask you a question, Tony?
Go ahead.
Okay, so you obviously watched the Stavern fight, which I've watched a number of times.
The first one and the second one, yes.
Well, the second one's not really indicative of anything for me. But as you mentioned, and you know, I've always not believed in Wilder's power to the level that it's been. Obviously, he can knock out the type of fighters that a good heavyweight should knock out. So his power is certainly respectable. But if you watch the first Stavern fight, he pretty much landed flush on Stavern in every round. And Stavern kept walking forward. And Stavern had been knocked out before that fight. So it's not like Stavern had a proven iron chip.
Right.
And that was a large reason why I felt that this guy's power was not what we were being sold. And it was being masked by not really fighting the best opponents. And if you actually go through Luis Ortiz's resume, his resume is worse than Wilder's. And I think a lot of this is down to having the same promoter for a lot of the padding in De La Hoya. They were both Golden Boy fighters. And a lot of those early 20 fights that Wilder had.
I'm going to have to hurry you up, John.
All right.
Have to,
well, that was my point anyway. Look, I mean...
Well, John, but I will say this, though.
What's the question, though? You had a question for him.
He's answered it.
No, I will say this, though, John. Whenever you look at Luis Ortiz, you have to at least give him credit for being the ex-world champion, and Charles Martin, the same guy that AJ picked up his first belt from. So at least you can say with Luis Ortiz, he beat an ex-world champion. You can at least give him that.
He wasn't a full-fledged. He's the same level of world champion that Mahmoud Shah is.
Well, I would say, in my opinion,
he was like a Trevor Bryan level of world.
No, Trevor Bryan was
who was like a Trevor Bryan?
Luis Ortiz did not have the full WBA title. He had the regular.
No. I didn't say Luis Ortiz was a champion. What I said is he beat an ex-champion in Charles Martin, who AJ got his first title from. So you at least have to see that as a point of view. He beat an ex-world champion, which is something a lot of these boxers have not done. They have not faced ex-world champions at any level. You could say Joe Joyce beat an ex-champion and Joseph Parker. There's some guys at the top you could mention, but at least Luis Ortiz beat an ex-world champion. Regardless where you put Charles Martin, I think Charles Martin is way better than Stavern. But at the end of the day, when Wilder fought Ortiz, he was a top 10 globally ranked fighter.
He was a legitimate top 10. And out of all of Wilder's top 10 opponents, he's the only guy that he holds. And he was definitely a legitimate top 10. But if you watch Luis Ortiz against Dave Allen, Tony Thompson, Malik Scott, Luis Ortiz was a limited fighter.
Hold on, testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Yeah, I was cutting off the car. The Bluetooth cut off. But anyways, like I was saying, to me, Deontay Wilder is somewhere in between B+, A-. I don't think he exists in either world. He's just in the limbo, purgatory between the two. And at 38 years old, it'd be very hard to see him pick up these skills that he never picked up. Whenever you brought up the first Stavern fight, I would say that's probably one of the best that Wilder ever looked, because he was using his jab. He was hiding behind the jab. He was going to the body. He was moving around the ring. But at some point in time, he regressed to where he only relied on the 1-2. And it's been years and years and years and years of regressing. And whenever he got in there with a guy skilled like Parker, because Parker is very skilled, regardless of his losses, he's an extremely skilled fighter, it showed. And the thing about it is when you fight guys who aren't as skilled, it's easier to knock them out because you're hitting them flush. Even with the clean shots that I saw land on Parker, he's still rolling with the punches. He's still moving with it because he's got the IQ of how to absorb a shot. It's a different level of IQ. And again, I look at it like this. Wilder has fought 3 champions. And when I say champion, I mean current or ex. Fury, Parker, and Stavern. He's lost to 2 out of the 3. Out of his top 10 fights that he's had Stavern, Ortiz, Fury, Parker. He's 50-50 against top 10 fighters. So when you really look at it, he's extremely limited. The only reason why I thought he would beat AJ is because in the last 2 fights prior to Otto Wallin, AJ looked hesitant to let his hands go. So if you're standing in front of a guy who just wings shots at you and you don't have nothing to stop him from doing it, then you're probably going to lose. But when AJ hooked up with Ben Davison, I don't know what the fuck Ben Davison does. He's got some voodoo dolls, some magic. He's a psychiatrist, a hypnotist. I don't know what he does. He brought Tyson Fury back from the breaks, and he got AJ looking like AJ looked before he lost to Andy Ruiz Jr. I think Ben Davison might be one of the fucking best boxing coaches out there because he's revitalized AJ. AJ looked vintage. He looked seek and destroy, scared of nothing. So I give all the credit in the world to Ben Davison along with Anthony Joshua because, of course, he's the one doing it. But you got to give Ben Davison a lot of credit.
Okay. Now, this is really bad because I'm on a time crunch, man. I'm on a time crunch. And, 1.5 hours is the time I set. But really and truly, I know I'm snipping it and I'm cutting people short and it feels terrible. But I don't feel I'm doing the thing justice in cutting the damn thing short. But I got work and I have to be 100% fresh. So I'm gonna have to rush it, unfortunately, and I think we're gonna have to go live again tomorrow because I know I'm cutting people short. I know there's more to be said. But so we go live again tomorrow. So please everybody come back, but we've got to get people's picks on this Ngannou versus Joshua, but I'm not doing it justice because we're only doing it a few minutes. But listen, I'm going to go live again tomorrow, but please, people, give me your picks. We go live again tomorrow. Let's go Big Boys Boxing because I know you're on a time crunch too.
Yeah, man, I've got Joshua stopping Ngannou late, ninth or 10th round. I think it'll be interesting, though, definitely if Ngannou can land a couple of punches early, it may change the whole game plan for Joshua. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's get it.
Yes, and those are your final words, Big Boys Boxing.
Yeah, man, and I'll just throw Tony a bone, too. I think Wilder's fought 4 world champions. Did he not fight Sergey Lajakovic early as well? He was a champion.
Oh, is it? I don't know that one. Okay. So
anyway,
there's another one.
That's me. Thanks for having me on, Rafi. I'll catch you later, eh? Take it easy, guys.
Much appreciated. That was the Big Boys Boxing. He's got his own channel. For sure, go check him out. And that's the Big Boys Boxing. Thank what the hell? Hold on a sec. Thank you very much indeed. And Tony's jumped off. Tony's back in. Boom. And the John D. Lee, we go live again tomorrow if you're around, John. I know I'm cutting people off, but
I can be quick on the pick. I can be quick. I'm leaning towards Joshua points win because I'm not sure how easy it is to stop Francis.
Yeah.
If it was a 12-round fight, I'd be more inclined to pick a KO because you got to make this man tired. Fury didn't make him work hard enough. It was too inactive. I think the way that Joshua beats him is the jab, hand speed and foot speed. Don't trade with this man. That was the mistake Fury made.
Yeah.
As soon as Fury thought he could go and walk him down and wrestle with him.
Yeah.
Are you mad? Have you seen him?
Big mistake.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Joshua isn't going to do that because that's not his game anyway.
No.
And I think it might not be the most entertaining fight, but it'd be a systematic breakdown with the jab. Final words are fair play for coming on, Tony.
Yep.
You gave a fairly balanced view, and credit to you.
Yep. 100%. That was the John D. Lee. We go live again tomorrow, folks, because it's a lot to get through, and I'm on a time crunch. It's the new job, and I can't F up. So I have to make sure I got ample time to relax, unwind, get a good 7 hours sleep, and then up again nice and fresh. So thanks to the John Daly for that. But we go live again tomorrow, touching on some of the similar topics, but we get a little bit deeper into it. I feel bad about having to cut the thing short, but hey, that's life. Time crunches. Okay, so Tony, reviews your view on Ngannou, Joshua versus Ngannou. And I think I know what you're going to say. You're picking Ngannou. Go on, surprise me.
Nah, I'm picking AJ. But I think it's a very dangerous fight, and it's a very hard fight to call because when I look at Ngannou, and I'm going to try to speed this up,
I saw a guy who fought Tyson Fury, arguably beat him. I had Fury winning by a round, which means he won by a point. So I had it, 2 rounds. I had him winning by 2 rounds. So he won by a point on my scorecard, but I could have seen it the other way. But whenever I look at Ngannou, I saw a guy that fought traditional in southpaw and did not miss a beat. I think if Ngannou goes in southpaw, it'd be a fatal error because I saw how good AJ did against Otto Wallin, who's also similar in stature, not as big as Ngannou, but he's a southpaw around the same height, close to the same reach. So I think traditional is the way to go. It's hard to say though, because you see a guy who's never boxed before get in there with arguably the best heavyweight and damn near beat him in his first fight ever as a pro boxer. So I think the big intangible here is AJ's got a lot more thump on his punches than Fury. So he can keep Ngannou a lot more honest. And I think AJ can apply a lot more pressure to hurt Ngannou to where Ngannou won't be as easy to pull the trigger on the counter hooks. That's the biggest thing that AJ's got to look out for is that counter left hook, counter right hook coming behind the jab. Because he was timing Fury all night. That's how he dropped him. And that's how he kept hurting Fury. And he's got to stay out of the clinch. Ngannou is extremely strong. If they teach him dirty boxing, AJ's going to have some problems because he's much bigger than AJ. But I think AJ should be able to use his boxing ability, his skills. It's a 10-round fight. I don't think AJ will knock him out. I think he's tough enough that he can survive. But I think AJ should be able to show his class. Unless he gets clipped, which is possible. But I think AJ should be able to show real class, especially whenever he wants to go out here and look better than Fury did.
Yes. And Tony Reviews, thanks for coming on and having the fortitude, the testicular fortitude which your king lacks.
All right, man. Have a good day.
Okay, that was the Tony Reviews, the John Daly, the Big Boys Boxing, and the Leon Figures. He starts early in the morning too. And so there it is, 2 shows back to back. And Rafi's going to show his versatility and go 3 shows back to back. We go live again tomorrow. Because I think we need to do some more cooking. Hopefully by tomorrow we will have had a statement, an official statement from the Wilder camp. I'm anticipating that, and we're gonna need to be talking about that. Okay. Aldo never set foot in Mother Russia. I do believe that to be the case. But no, I think you're wrong though. Because he was in some of Klitschko's camps, wasn't he? He was in at least one Klitschko camp. Lest we forget. But then you might be right, because Klitschko's camp wasn't in Russia. I believe it was in the Austrian hills. You know what I mean? So then you might be right. Okay. So there it is. We've gone twice back to back. And even with the time crunch, I think we did rather well. So thanks to everybody who stopped on by. Don't forget you can show your appreciation via Super Chat. It's still there. The option is there. Failing that, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the share button. Don't be ashamed to show your support. And there it is. It's the Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. It's the Zilly Zang Bang, the big Chinaman, against the Samoan, fighting out of New Zealand, Joseph Parker. That's on the undercard of Joshua versus Ngannou down there in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I think it's in March. Or is it the 9th, the 19th? Something like that. Something like that. And of course, it is your king is here. Well, he's not here though. Where is he? Where the hell is he? Where is your king, Deontay Wilder? Is he still a king? What's next for Deontay Wilder? Those are the questions the inquiring minds are asking. And it's the Raphael Dawkins, the Combat Radio. Like, subscribe, comment, share. I might see you tomorrow. I'll be seeing you. Blessed.